Welcome to episode 4, season 2 of the Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Folks, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Lamb's Rum. Lamb's is one of the top choices for Newfoundlanders who love the authentic, smooth taste. Enjoy Lamb's Palm Breeze today with a splash of Coke and lime wedge. Or for something different, try Lamb's spiced on its own on the rocks. Lamb's is the best choice for hard-working Newfoundlanders. And at a great price, find Lamb's Rum at all of your local NLCs. Well, folks, welcome back. Thanks so much for everybody who's been tuning in so far this season. Want to say a big thanks to Mr. Adam Baxter for coming on last episode. It was great to catch up with Adam. Absolutely awesome fella. Really cool story, and make sure you do check out his latest release, which is, insane at what he did and doing the 28 songs in 28 days a month of February. Just really, really incredible feat. So make sure you show Baxter some love and go check out that music. I got another really fun episode this week with Mr. Dan George, fantastic drummer, musician from here in St. John's. He's played with me and a bunch of other different artists. He's toured all across Canada, the U.S. He's been to Europe. Just awesome dude, awesome chat, and we were chatting all kinds of different things about all the fun different shows he's played and all that stuff, so make sure you stick around a little later for that chat with Dan George. Had an absolutely crazy Paddy's Day here in St. John's. This place is absolutely nuts to me. I'm normally gone every Paddy's Day. I'm normally in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, performing at Murphy's, performing at the pub, and it's a day or so, and they do a little pre-Paddy's Day party down there, but nothing sets you up for what happens in Newfoundland around Paddy's Day. I mean, if you love Paddy's Day, I'm telling you, you got to come to St. John's during which is Paddy's week. I mean, it was almost Paddy's 2 weeks this time, which was insane. I couldn't believe, like, Paddy's Day itself was wild, obviously, and I was kind of expecting that. But one thing I didn't expect was 2 days later, we're doing a bunch of gigs. I did a bunch of solo stuff, played a bunch of gigs with my pal Mark Manning, and I was not set up for it. I was thinking, like, okay, I came in Saturday, I had an afternoon slot, a little solo slot before I finished off the night with Mark. I walked in the pub Saturday thinking, of course, there's going to be some people out celebrating. There's still going to be people out partying, probably who didn't get out on Paddy's Day. Walked into the bar at 4 p.m. It's absolutely at capacity. I was just in shock. I couldn't believe everybody decked out. So St. John's is a wild spot during Paddy's Day. Big thanks to all the pubs and all the bars that had us. Big thanks to Mark Manning, of course, for sharing the stage with me over the course of that week. It was a lot of fun getting together with Mark, and we had a lot of laughs, and it was great to see everybody out really enjoying themselves. So that was a lot of fun. I do have a real fun show that's coming up April 14th. We're playing at the Ship. Myself and my friend Mike Bursey, fantastic songwriter. If you haven't heard Mike before, check him out. He's on all the streaming platforms. Just put out a record, I think maybe a year or two ago. And really, really, really cool songwriter. Big fan of Mike's. We're going to split the night there at the Ship on April 14th, which is Holy Thursday, obviously the day before Good Friday, which, is a big night here in St. John's. Obviously, probably a big night everywhere, but a lot of people have the next day off, so that Thursday is always a lot of fun. We're not selling any advance tickets. It's all just come and pay at the door, so get down early if you want to come hang out. Just $10 on the door, and we're going to have a laugh. Just a couple songwriters just singing songs and having a bit of fun. Did a real fun live stream from my shed in Greens Harbor the weekend past. Had a blast went out and spent a few nights out there and just relaxed after the Paddy's Week shenanigans. And I unhooked all my equipment here in St. John's and brought it all out with me and set up for a live stream out there. Really fun to get to chat with everybody. Thanks everybody for all the requests and all the tips that you sent along. Really made my night. It was fun to show off the shed a little bit because it's something that, myself, my brother, we've worked on really hard over the last couple years, and it's a great space that we really enjoy. We love spending a lot of time out there, and it's kind of like a little cabin at the cabin. It's really fun to showcase that and have a bit of fun with that. After the weekend, I did get back from, when I got back from the cabin, I played another real fun show with my pal, Brian Aylward, who's a great comedian. Had him on the first season of the podcast. Absolutely hilarious dude. He booked his own show where he wanted to showcase a bunch of new material and asked me to come down and kind of close the night out. Paul Warford opened up, absolutely hilarious. Brian finished off, or he did like the middle slot. He did comedy for an hour, which to me is absolutely insane, mind-blowing, to be completely honest with you, because I find it hard enough to to get up and sing an hour of music, let alone to get up and talk for an hour and be funny at that. So that was a lot of fun. That was at Boca. The staff was incredible, and everybody in attendance was really, really fun. Everybody enjoyed themselves. So just wanted to say a big shout out to Brian and Paul and the crew at Boca for having us on Sunday evening, and everybody who came out. That was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that one. I want to say a big happy 40th birthday to my brother, Mark Whitty. Happy 40th, Kaiser. Loves you, man. And we had a lot of fun Saturday up in the shed. We had a little get together and a couple drinks and really got to celebrate, and it was a lot of fun. So happy birthday, buddy. I managed to tune into the Oscars. I never really, I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't watching the Oscars because I'll be completely honest with you. I am absolutely in no way movie guy. I'm definitely more like TV, music / sports guy. I mean, I don't really watch a whole lot of movies. I'd be lying to you if I told you I seen any of the movies that were probably nominated for the Oscars. So it's not something I tune into. But of course, just like everybody else, I was sitting there watching a show or watching a game. And of course, next thing, Twitter starts blowing up. Facebook's blowing up. Oh my God, did that really just happen? Yada, yada. I'm like, holy shit, what just actually happened? I got to go check this out. And of course, this Will Smith, Chris Rock thing. I'll be fucking completely honest with you. I don't give one shit about these people. I mean, I just do not care about rich celebrities who just try to make a mockery of themselves and feel like they don't care. I don't know what it is. I don't really give a shit. I thought it was pretty interesting that it happened. One of the craziest things you'll probably see on live TV. A lot of people are saying it may be staged, might not be staged, et cetera, et cetera. To me, it doesn't seem like it was staged. I can't see, when they kind of showed that clip, in Canada and US, the audio got cut, but of course, then the leaks started coming out on Twitter and from Australia or something, the feed from Australia where they actually show, and Will Smith's like, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth, like he's cursing, which I don't think that would, I just don't think if it was staged, he would have swore. I was watching a really funny sports talk show the other day, and they were talking about it, and they were actually saying, which I didn't realize, which I thought was really, really funny, is that, I mean, Will Smith has rap albums out that he doesn't swear in. So for it to be staged and to him to swear on live TV during the Oscars where, I mean, he's about to win the Oscar, 20 minutes later, it was such a bizarre series of events, and of course it got everybody on social media twisted again. I just think there's bigger things in the world to deal with. I mean, there's a war going on across the pond, and it's somehow distracting again from that. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't love it. It's just a weird thing. I don't really have a whole lot of opinions on it, but I figured I would definitely throw it in because it's worth a small conversation anyways. But once again, I just do not give a shit about super rich celebrities who feel like they can just do crazy shit like that and get away with it, which is insane to me. But yeah, I figured I would definitely mention it. Obviously tuned into a bunch of sports in the last couple weeks. Been watching March Madness. Been really dialed into that. A lot of fun teams in there making fun runs. That St. Peter's team was really fun. 15 seed. First time they ever broken a 15 seed ever got to the Elite Eight. But they lost. Obviously, they're out now, and UNC moved on. So looking forward to another really fun weekend of basketball. There's gonna be a couple great games leading up to the college championship. Really excited about that. NHL Trade Deadline, a few big acquisitions kind of happened. The Leafs picked up a great defenseman, Mark Giordano, along with Colin Blackwell, which is a couple great additions. Didn't really give up a whole lot for it. A couple later picks. I'm happy with the transaction. We needed somebody on the D. They put Peter Mrazek on waivers. He cleared waivers. Then he came back and had two pretty strong games. So I don't know what's going on with the goaltending situation in Leafland. Going to be very interesting when Jack Campbell comes back to see how it all plays out. But as always, we'll be tuned in and cheering on the Leafs. So that's always a blast for me. I've been watching a little preseason Jays. Not going to lie to you, I'm a huge Jays fan, but I find it really difficult to dig into, especially preseason baseball, because there's just so many players in an organization for a baseball team that I find it just so meaningless that it's just hard to dig into it all. So really looking forward to opening day, April 10th, when the games start to matter. That's going to be obviously, it's going to be a great season for the Jays. A lot of young talent there. Pitching rotation looks great. And it's just going to be a really fun season. Really looking forward to that. That about does it for me, guys. Like I mentioned, I do get that show April 14th. So if you are thinking about heading out, make sure you get down early. It's going to be a lot of fun at the Ship with my pal Mike Bursey. In the meantime, I did have a great chat with Mr. Dan George. I mean, we're chatting all kinds of. He's played with a bunch of really, really neat artists all over the world, and just great story to tell, and a great guy. So, with that being said, stick around for a great chat with Mr. Dan George. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Dan George to the podcast. How's it going, Dan? What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, good, man. This is it. Just hanging out. Having a cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, me too. I got a little cup of tea here myself, so right on, all good. Thanks so much for doing this, man. I know you're busy. You got a ton of stuff coming up, ton of stuff going on. You're in the middle of a ton of different things. So, really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to stop on and have a chat.
100%, man.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Thank you. No, thank you. No, my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure. We've chatted quite a few times about getting you on, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity, especially with, everything that's been happening recently. I mean, with Nick, with Justin, I mean, everything that's coming up with the ECMAs, we're going to dig into all that stuff. So yeah, just want to say thanks so much, for taking a little bit of time and popping on. I wanted to kind of kick it off here. I wanted to start off, Dan, because I have some of these questions here for you that I personally know the answers to, but a lot of them I don't as well. So I'm genuinely curious. I mean, I kind of wanted to start off from the beginning and kind of wonder, what got you into music originally, and definitely most specifically got you into drumming and percussion.
I think I've always been drawn to it. For drums, especially. My parents would always say, "Oh, well, you'd beat pots and pans, and you'd always have spoons in your hand, doing like tapping on stuff." And I grew up going to church, and I would be hyper focused on the drummer when like there was music playing, just hyper focused and just drumming along, and that was from like. I don't even know how young I was. It was probably 2 or 3 years old. Mm-hmm. I just caught on to it. Dad was a musician, still is a musician, played for years and toured on the road for years.
Was he a drummer as well?
No, he's actually a keyboard player.
Okay, cool. Right on.
Yep. And so there was music always around the house. All the time. I know that's kind of like the typical story for most musicians is, well, there was music always playing around the house, and either one or both of your parents were musicians. And so I think a lot of people have a very similar story where there's always music playing around the house, and then you spark an interest in, oh, what's this and who's this and what genre kind of captures your attention. And then
what would that have been for a young Dan George? What kind of music would it something that have kind of captured you or kind of stuck out to you as a young person?
I remember when I became obsessed with music, I heard Dream Theater for the first time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, of course.
And that was
that would do it for you. Yeah.
That really sparked like a creativity side of my mind that I didn't even know was there. Mm-hmm. I'd always been into the arts, and I've always been more of an artistic person, more than, into, math or science or anything like that. I always excelled with like visual arts, and I excelled with music throughout school and everything. And when I then heard Dream Theater for the first time, it was like unlocking a new part of your mind. Like you hit a different level, and you're like, oh my God, like this, I want to do this.
I wonder how many times bands like that have heard that over the years, that young people have heard their music, like especially a band like Dream Theater. I mean, bands like that are so technical. I mean, it's not 4 chords and straight rhythm, man. It's crazy music. I mean, I wonder how many times bands like that have heard it over the years, that you unlocked like a different part of my brain. You know what I mean? Because I bet that's happened like so
legitimately.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I, like, growing up, my dad always took me to concerts, and that's like our thing that we do, is like we'd go to concerts, and he took me to see Alice Cooper for the first time. He was just like, you don't know who this is, but you have to come see this show, and you'll appreciate the music. And he took me to see Tom Petty and like Metallica, and we actually did go see Dream Theater at one point.
Oh, cool.
They opened for Iron Maiden. So it was like two of these massive bands in one show. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny because kind of hearing you talk about that, I mean, that kind of reflects you as a person and the style that you portray. I mean, you play in all sorts of different bands. You play different styles of music. I mean, you toured and played with all sorts of different acts, whether it be country acts, rock acts, metal acts. I mean, all sorts of different genres. I mean, I would imagine that, you know, growing up and seeing these shows with your dad and stuff like that, and having that type of music around your house probably was kind of what opened your eyes to all these different things, and probably what molded you into what you are today, right?
Oh, 100%. I would say he's probably been the most influential influence on music in my entire life.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. What was the first concert you ever took you to? Can you remember?
I remember going to Salmon Festival when I
Nice.
was like young, right?
Yeah.
And that's back when, like, you know, it was a very family friendly festival to be going to, right?
You guys didn't camp at Red Cliff or anything after?
No. But we had family friends that were out in Grand Falls, and we'd go out and visit them and stay with them for a weekend and do Salmon Festival, and then we'd cart back into St. John's.
It was great back then, man. I mean, the festival, Salmon Festival, was huge back in the day. I mean, massive bands used to play that. I mean, it was the first time I ever seen the Tragically Hip was live at Salmon Festival, and I remember, like, I'm literally sitting here now thinking about, I can remember that show like front to back. I remember being so captivated by Gord Downey that time, because he was so out of his mind, because he was such a fucking weirdo anyways, like which is what made him so cool and unique. I mean, but I remember being so captivated by his performance, like as a front man, like, and I remember like myself, like what you said, I remember you heard different styles of music, different genre, and it opened up pieces of your brain and made you think differently about music. I mean, that was something for me, and that was at Salmon Festival here in Newfoundland. I mean, I remember watching Gord Downey being like, man, he is just putting on the coolest fucking show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And as a front man, I'm like, and like they're playing, you know, dad rock, you know what I mean? Like it's the hip, you know, it's super cool, right? It's too bad that the festival kind of, I mean, whatever happened with the Salmon Festival, I mean, I think it was a result of too much money spent and bad weather and all these different things that kind of collided at the end of it.
There's a lot of things that sunk that festival. And I will say that greed is the number one factor.
Oh, hands down. And I mean,
that absolutely sunk that festival, which is so sad, because especially for somewhere in like central Newfoundland, to have that much, you know, extra income coming in for all the small businesses and the hotels and everywhere. They essentially double the population of the town in one weekend. So it's madness, but it's so much fun, and everybody always look forward to it.
I mean, it was always such a fun festival. I mean we went and seen that, like, you know, just out of high school. I remember it's honestly some of the most memorable events of my life. I mean, going to see Salmon Festival with 20 of your buddies, and then you're meeting up with all kinds of different people, and you had bands. Like, I remember the years that we would, like, I think I went 3 times, but it was like, you know, on the same bill, you'd have like, it was like Billy Talent, Tragically Hip, then there'd be like a couple pop bands, there'd be like a country band. It was like a good little mix of music over
really diverse mix throughout that weekend.
What was the year that they had, like, that really basically was the end of it? Who did they have again?
The Eagles. They had the Eagles.
Yeah, but wasn't there someone else after that?
I think it was John Fogerty was there.
I
think, I'm not sure.
It was Aerosmith, wasn't it?
Aerosmith was there.
I think that was the last year that it was ever the major deal that it was. Like, because I remember seeing, like, and then remember they ran out of like water, and like, and it was like 35 degrees, and like,
and they weren't letting they were taking the bottle caps off and just giving you the bottles of water, but they were keeping the bottle caps, so you couldn't keep it for, like, if you wanted a sip of water and keep your water in your bag or anything, you couldn't do that. So it got out of hand, man. It absolutely got out of hand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's it's too bad. It's quite a shame, because I mean, especially as artists like myself and you, I mean, that'd probably be bills that we would be on now. And, you know, if that festival is still happening, you
It
or
does
I,
still
or,
happen, and I've
I know, but
played it a
it's a
couple
much scale,
times,
it's a much
but, like,
scaled
it's
down version. Yeah.
very, very, very scaled down. But it's nothing like it used to be. Like,
No,
they
no.
don't hold it in Centennial Park anymore. There's, you know, much more scaled down. It's more of a local event now that happens.
Speaking of obviously playing with different bands and different groups and maybe being on a bill like that, and like you mentioned, you have been on the bill. I mean, Dan, you worked with so many artists, especially from Newfoundland. Like, just name a few, like Justin Fancy, Nick Earle, Leah Capelle, Carolina East, Chris Ryan, Mallory Johnson, Waterfront Fire, Cabot Power, Rachel Cousins, Damian Follett, me, quote the Raven, Kelly Loader, Derek Graham, Glory Days, Rosemary Lawton, Brian Andre, and Andrew Panashaway. I mean,
Yeah.
that is just an eclectic list right off the hop. I mean, I'm sure there's more involved in there and stuff you've done over the years that you worked on and you've been done studio sessions with. Like, you know, how does it feel to you, like, to kind of play music in such a rich musical place like St. John's, where you are definitely attached to so many different artists? Like, I feel like St. John's is definitely unique in that sense, and Newfoundland as a whole, for how rich we are in, you know, musical culture.
It is definitely an incredibly special place, and I've been lucky enough to, like, travel all over the world and play music. Obviously here is home for me. So this is home base. This is where I base myself out of. And, you know, I've toured out of here, and I've toured Europe and gone through the States and stuff like that. But it all started here. And a lot of these artists are just good friends. And we just decided, hey, let's do this. Or for example, I actually got hired when Nick was with Citadel House. I got hired to do his first solo album as the drummer. We didn't really know each other that well.
Mm-hmm.
And we got out and we started doing his album, and we did some live sessions, and we were writing and just doing our musical creative bonding, I guess, in Lewisport.
Yeah, you guys are bestie boys now. Like,
and that was the spark of everything. Like, we drove home together. It was about a 4-hour drive, and we drove home overnight. And we just got to talking, and was just like, hey, like, oh, you like this band? Oh, and this band. And then it was all from there. We just kind of became best buds. And now we're working on the third album. I think we're finished the third album now.
Yeah,
we've done an album since, and we've played on countless projects together, as session players together. And we've toured together as session players, and I've toured in his band. And, you know, that's definitely one of my best friends. And it kind of happens like that with every project. Everybody just kind of bonds musically. It just brings everybody together. And especially when you're working on projects together and you have your own ideas and your own kind of flavor that you can bring to the table. So it works out pretty well. But being in St. John's, I mean, you have so many influences already. You know, there's so many good bands around, and there's so much different music that happens. Like, you can go down to the Ship on any given night, and it could either be a folk night, or it could be like a bluegrass country night, or you could have somebody doing complete electronic, like, trip out on MDMA kind of night.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean? Like, there's,
oh man,
and it doesn't really matter what kind of genre it is. Everywhere you can play anywhere, and you can have any type of genre, and there are so many people doing just crazy shit around town. You know what I mean?
I think that's what makes St. John so much fun for seeing live shows, is that, like, bills are never, like, stacked. Like, they are sometimes, don't get me wrong, like, but bills are a lot of times stacked with different, like, genre artists, which makes it like so eclectic to go see a show. Like you mentioned, especially like at the Ship, or, I mean, you go see a show at the Rock House, like, you might see like a folk band and open it up for them as a country band. I mean, they're kind of in the same family, but not quite the same. It's not like all stacked bills where it's all the same genre or that kind of thing, which is super neat in my opinion.
But I mean, you can go down and see for example, I know that recently they did the concert for Ukraine that was over at the Arts and Culture Center,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a bunch of different artists, and it was
Crazy.
ranging from
Yeah.
like Tim Baker of Hey Rosetta to the Kubasonics, who were
Yeah.
the organizers of the show, and they're Ukrainian speed folk is their genre.
Yeah, exactly.
Like for that to be in St. John's, Newfoundland is just, it's hilarious. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think they did really well with that show. That was awesome to see that. I was really happy to see that.
I didn't get to see that show personally. I was out of town.
I think Ruben Rake were on that as well, and
and
Sherry
another
Ryan.
amazing. And that brings up the different genres. It doesn't really matter. I mean, like, they are an incredible folk duo, and you have Sherry Ryan, who is more country.
Yep.
And again, an incredible band behind her as well. Like, it's excellent.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I wanted to ask you something about. I remember seeing. I think it was just before COVID, it kind of kicked off, especially here in Newfoundland. I mean, it was all kind of the same, kind of worldwide. You know, it was March 2020 or whatever it was. But
yeah,
I remember
seeing. I
remember seeing you were in LA. You were in LA. You were recording drums and with an artist, Leah Capelle. Triptych, right? Am I right there? Triptych, yeah. How'd you make that connection? What was that all about? Can you talk about that a little?
Honestly, that story is just one that almost you can't even believe. You know what I mean? It's it all started. I'll go through the full thing. I'll go through the full shebang with it.
Yeah, I got nowhere to be, baby.
The first time that we met was because of a festival that we were both playing at, and that came about mid 2018. I was playing with a band called Waterfront Fire from St. John's, Newfoundland, and we ended up getting this opportunity to showcase at a festival in Sweden. And we had a summer that was like fully lined up already anyways. And this was in the end of August into early September. And we decided, well, if we can make this work, then it would be worth it to just tour Europe. So we ended up just going nuts trying to get venues and talking to people in different countries that were, didn't even speak English, and just reaching out to venues all over the place. And we ended up booking a tour at the end of August 2018. And we went to Europe for 3 weeks, and we went through Ireland, Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Sweden. And because of this festival that was happening in Sweden, it was called Live at Heart.
Yep, I'm familiar with that. Yeah,
one of the festival organizers is actually from Marystown, Newfoundland.
Right. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, because they do like a part of that in Newfoundland as well, don't they?
So and this is before all of that started.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was looking to get this festival to Newfoundland because he's very passionate about down around the Burin coast and that peninsula. And he's obviously from Marystown, and there's a lot of music that also has come out of that area as well. And so he got this festival started in Marystown. So it's the same festival circuit that was in Sweden. And they decided, all right, we're going to do it for the first time live at Heart, Newfoundland in Marystown. And originally that was booked the same weekend that Music NL had their showcasing week and their award show week in Twillingate.
Right.
So this is, we're getting away a little bit ahead of ourselves, because obviously we went to Sweden, we went through Europe. When we came back, we had our first show back was the Iceberg Alley Festival with Billy Talent, and I think the Motor League was on that as well. And it was a whirlwind of 3 weeks, just absolute craziness. But we came back and they wanted us to do the Live at Heart, which was only a few weeks later. And that was, obviously the same time as the Music NL week. And I had been booked with a number of artists to showcase at Music NL week. And one of them was Waterfront Fire. So we didn't know if we were going to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So we originally said no. We said, we can't really make it work. Thank you for the opportunity, but we're already booked elsewhere and it's about 6 hours away. So, it's complete opposite ends
north to
of
south
the map,
of the island.
right?
Yeah.
Complete north to complete south of the island. So we originally had said no. And they reached back out and we're just like, well, what if we can do it this time on this night? Can you make it? And we said, oh man, yeah, we can probably swing that. So we said, all right, let's go. So we packed up and carted out for a couple days before Music NL started. And we walked into Marystown Hotel, of all places. And I walked up to the bar to get a drink. And there was a person, just a girl who was stood at the bar, looked about my age. And we just kind of said, oh, hey, what's up? You must be here for the festival. And that was Leah.
Right.
And from that moment onward, again, she has been one of my best friends in the entire world.
That's incredible.
Crazy how it works. And basically she was there with her producer at the time. I'm going to feel like a jerk now, but I totally forget his name.
I don't say he's listening.
Forget his name. Jeff someone. He's probably not listening to me ramble on about this anyways. But she was there with him and he came and saw us play, Waterfront Fire play. And she was like, what do you think of the drummer? And he was just like, you should see if he'll come record drums on your next project. And so after knowing each other for about 6 hours, that was the call. I got to go down to Los Angeles.
And crazy, man. What a crazy story. So what was that experience like when you were down there? I mean, you must have been working in some pretty neat studios and probably a little bit different probably than what you were used to back here in Newfoundland.
It was insane. It was pretty crazy. I mean, and I know I've got some pictures posted if you creep back through my Instagram and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But the studios there, the one that we did the bulk of the album in, is one that's called Igloo Recording. So it's Igloo Music, and they do all of the voiceovers for like almost every Hollywood movie that you see. It is crazy. Like we walked into, I think it was Control Room F.
There's mics in there that are more expensive than studios here, probably. Like,
legitimately, yes. Like you walk into the control room, and it's all done in like the Dolby Atmos surround sound for mixing, and it was nuts. And the entire window that lines across the separation in the studio is just lined with Grammy Awards. Like there was like 35 Grammy Awards just sitting across a windowsill. Crazy. It was nuts, man. So that was like kind of the moment, like you have a little bit of imposter syndrome. You're like, how am I here right now? Like, how did this happen?
So what was the project you guys worked on when you're down there? Was it a full album? Was it a couple singles or? So
we were working on the beginning of the album.
Okay.
And so I did all of my parts between 3 trips. And so the last trip was January 2020.
Right.
And so we go down and we go to the NAMM show every year, which is the National Association of Music Merchants.
Yeah.
So we go down and go into Anaheim and stay for the weekend, and then we would take a trip up to a recording studio. So the studio was or the recordings were done at a couple of different studios, and one of them being Igloo, and we did the bulk of the album there. The other, I think we did 4 songs at a place called Owlfoot Ranch, and Owlfoot Ranch is owned by a musician called Kim Bullard, and he plays with Elton John. So this is located in his backyard.
Right.
So we were just there, and we went through, this guy's backyard, and like we're playing with his dogs, and then we go and kind of live in this studio for this weekend.
So sick.
And it's crazy, man. And I took endless amounts of pictures and documented as much as I could, because it's just one of those things that I was so grateful to have the opportunity to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, when am I going to get to do this again? Hopefully a lot.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like hopefully,
in case not, I'm going to document it.
and we documented everything. And I think it's so important to do that too, because years down the road, you look back and you look at those experiences, and you see videos of you making a fool of yourself in a studio, but it's like, that's how we came up with this, or that's how this song came about.
Yeah, you must have so much footage, man, because I remember like even a few shows we played, and I see you play obviously with Nick all the time, and Justin. I mean, you always got the camera going. You're always filming a lot of your sets and stuff like that, and just documenting as much as you can, which is a very cool thing to do and very smart, to think about, to do that beforehand. I mean, I wish I had done 5% of that, just to have some of the stuff that, I mean, over the years, the wild shows you played and different unique places you've been at and played at and met people you've met and stuff like that. So that's a really cool thing to do.
And I started doing that when I first kind of got into photography, is when I started doing that. Cause I don't care about having like multicam or, super professional footage. It's more of, as long as I have something that I can watch back later.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be amazing quality, but I thought about, well, if I'm traveling through Europe, I'm definitely taking my camera so that I can document everything photographically.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even need to be video, but I ended up taking a lot of videos, and we took a lot of videos, obviously, on our phones, and I took pictures along the way, because I had the opportunity to travel through 5 countries in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I decided I'm going to take my camera to every gig that I play.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's part of your equipment. Yeah.
And I'm just going to set it up. And at the end of the night, I can look back through that, or, for my purpose, I was like, well, I'll have lots of stuff to post on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't. I've got this backlog of performance videos and stuff and shenanigans that we've got on with over the years.
One of these days you'll dig into it. You'll start putting it all together, and I mean, it'll probably be even better then, to be honest with you.
Make a documentary out of it.
There you go, the Dan George story.
You never know. It's craziness. It's absolute.
You mentioned like kind of like going back and looking at videos. Like one of the real cool things that you've done pretty recently. I mean, one of the main artists you worked side by side with the last couple of years has definitely been Justin Fancy. I know you guys hit up Canadian Country Music Week last year. And you also got to record for the Grammy.com Play at Home virtual series, which is very, very cool. Can you talk a little bit about attending Canadian Country Music Week, which is it's a huge conference that happens obviously every year. Mm-hmm. Talk about attending that conference and that event, and what it kind of means for different artists. And I'd also like to hear a little bit about the Grammy.com performance, because I had Justin on last year on the first season of the podcast, but it was before that, so I never really got to ask him about it. Obviously, it hadn't happened at the point. So, just talk a little bit about that, because they're both very cool things. I mean, obviously, Canadian Country Music Week is a conference where people travel from all over the country and attend, and there's different showcases and buyer showcases and different sorts of things. And then the Grammy.com performance is pretty cool too.
Yeah. And so CCMA's really great experience. I love that we were able to go and do that, and we got to meet so many great people and reconnect with a lot of people who we've worked with over the years too. And for us to go there realistically, CCMAs is the same kind of thing as Music NL would be, or ECMAs, or Juno Week, or anything like that. It's a conference with showcases and buyers that go there, and it's just on a bigger scale in the music industry. So obviously you do have those like levels that you hit for like your provincial, and then your regional, we'll say, because East Coast, you have Breakout West, and basically Breakout West just starts in Ontario and goes across the country. But so you have East and West there, but then you have national, which would be your Canadian Country Music Awards and your Juno Awards, that kind of stuff. So it is all relatively the same, as you can imagine. You know yourself, you've attended so many of these weekend festivals, but it is on that kind of grander scale. And we got to actually attend both the industry awards, which was great. You get to go in and you sit at a table with everybody, and you're just submersed in every country artist from across Canada. It's just everybody in one room. And so it was a little bit intimidating, only knowing a few people, because a lot of people kind of just looked at me, especially because I'm just a side musician who's up there, grateful for the opportunity to go up and support my friend and my colleague, and promote his music, because that's what we were there to do, is kind of promote. And obviously the more opportunities Justin's able to get, the more opportunities open up for me, because I'm playing with him. So that's what we went up to do, but it was just a crazy whirlwind of a weekend up there. So we got to attend the industry awards, but we also went to the main awards show, the live broadcast on TV. And that actually was one of the first times I've been to the live television taping. And it's for anybody who's unfamiliar with live TV tapings like that, the only microphone that is live is the vocal microphone of the person performing. Everything else is fake.
Right.
Like literally everything else is it's a track playing in the background.
Crazy.
And it's hilarious to see how something on that scale works, because it is all teleprompted and it's scripted, just like every show that you go to, whether
except for the Oscars on Sunday.
Yeah, apparently so. A lot of off script You know what? Who knows? Maybe that easily could have been a publicity stunt.
You're not wrong. I mean, obviously we're not going to dig into that, but I mean, it's fucking hilarious what just happened there. I mean, it definitely could have been either one way. It doesn't seem like it was fake to me. I don't know. I think everyone has, you can dig into it either way. There's a lot of different ways to dig into it. Obviously the Oscars haven't got a whole lot of publicity in the last few years. And obviously it really has now, but I mean, I don't know. When you see it kind of played back, it's so weird, man. What a weird.
It is a weird experience to look at. You're just like, whoa.
But yeah, so that must be interesting. I mean, watching that, watching the award show, the live taping from the audience must be weird, because just the overall feel of the room must just feel strange, because it's not really the band playing or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's like it's the band playing. You know what I mean? Like they're all still playing. It's just none of the instruments are plugged in. All of the drums, like the cymbals that are there, they're the quiet ones.
Right.
So you see it and you expect to hear something of it, and it's just nothing. And the drum heads are mesh, and it's just hilarious.
Crazy, man. No way. I never realized that myself. That's nuts.
Yeah, I'm here ruining every award show ever for everyone.
Just breaking it out here on the Dave Whitty podcast. I love it. Yeah.
But the Grammy, exposing everyone.
the Grammy.com performance was really, really neat. I mean, that was something that you guys recorded. here in St. John's, and then
Yep.
it was actually up on the Grammy.com front page. I mean,
it was right on the front page, Grammy.com, and it was they have it on their YouTube channel. They posted it to their Instagram, their Twitter, like everything. They just plastered it everywhere. And it's the first Canadian band invited to actually do that.
Really neat. Yeah, that's really,
so
really cool.
That for us was just crazy.
Yeah,
and,
no doubt.
Because, when you think about music and the industry, that is the highest level that you get. You know what I mean? Like that's the highest level of the music industry is when you get to the Grammy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be asked by the Recording Academy to do this, and on whatever level, whether it be, televised or on their website or anything, you're being asked by the Academy to perform. And it's like, no matter what level that is, that's an honor. And especially when you think about, we're a bunch of boys from Newfoundland, right? Like, it's just,
yeah, no
it's
doubt.
just one of those things you think of as a kid. You're like, that is my dream. And then you get the opportunity for it, and you're kind of shitting your pants a little bit.
Yeah, no
like,
doubt. I bet.
You're like,
I guess one good thing about that is
crazy.
at least it's like it's not a live performance in the sense that it was streamed live to the Grammy. I guess if you guys did fuck up once or twice, I suppose you could go back and make sure you nailed the performance. I mean, which is
100%.
a huge thing, right?
Yeah. And that too, I mean, like everything else, nothing is truly live in that sense. Like you don't see any of those videos that are being put up that are truly a fully live performance. It's a video, it's a performance video, and it's put up, and that's it. It's a music video essentially.
Yeah. But I mean, it's streamed on the front page of Grammy.com. I mean, I can't.
100%.
You can't think of a bigger musical place for a video to be played. And it was right around, I think it was right around when the nominees were all announced, and it was like
so there was
the
updated, a lot of hype around
Yeah.
around Grammys and Grammy.com and everything, because that's where all their news is. And that's right around that time where all the nominees were being announced, and then it was just like, hey, and also here you go, it's a Justin Fancy Band from St. John's, Newfoundland.
Yeah, no,
which probably most of you have never ever heard of.
Yeah, haven't heard of us, let alone of where we're from. Like,
yeah, honestly.
Speaking of Newfoundland, I mean, I got to ask you this story. I remember we chatted about this one night about you did a trip and you were performing with a band. Was it in Labrador, or was the band from Labrador? It was Brian Andre and Andrew Panashwe.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, like, most of the members didn't speak English. Was that like, and I think you were just hired basically as a session drummer, right? I think you did a few shows. I mean, I'll let you elaborate on it, but I mean, how did that come about, and what was that experience like? And like, how did that all unfold? I just thought that was the wildest thing, to go perform in a band and the guys didn't speak your language. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's, and to be honest, it's more of, I'll flip it around and say that I didn't speak their language.
Fair enough.
Because
yes,
I went in, they got me up to Labrador, and that they're from Labrador. And yeah, every lyric and everything is in Inuktitut. And so I have no clue what anything is up there. It was an amazing experience, first of all. Well, first of all, how it came about, our friend Robert Kelly, who we've both worked with for quite some time, he'll usually call me up and say, hey, I got a gig for you. And it's usually, hey, can you come into the studio and lay down a drum track? That's the gig. And, make $100 or whatever, you know, for, here's some quick cash. And also, you're my call for this. So I'm used to being like, okay, yeah, I'm free tonight, probably. And he said, hey, I got a gig for you. And I said, all right, yeah, I'm free. And he said, do you want to go to Labrador? I was like, what? He said, these guys are looking for a drummer. And they said, they'll fly you in. They'll put you up for however long you're there and, pay for the show and fly home. And I said, that sounds insane. I don't know any of these people. I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Yeah. Was the music challenging for you? Was it different than what you probably you're used to, or how did you feel about that?
It was different. Yeah, it was different just because you know how sometimes a lot of things you can go off of vocal cues.
Of course, yeah.
So now everything is not in English, and I don't speak the language, and so I have no real vocal cues. And I think through learning the songs and practicing the songs, I actually picked up on a couple things that then when I was up there, I was asking one of the band members is actually the Grand Chief of the Innu Nation, who deals with all of the issues with Ottawa. And like, it's just the people you meet it's so random. It's so random, man.
But that's what keeps you on your toes, man. That's what makes this life fun. I mean, is shit like that,
and,
you know what I mean?
To be honest, like they were all super, super nice, even through language barrier.
Did you manage to get out for like a buzz with the boys or anything? Like, did you hit a bar or anything?
No, I wish. That would be so funny. They took me up through Sheshashi.
Nice.
We went up on the reserve, and
I've been there as well. I mean, I think anybody, especially from the island here in Newfoundland, need to get to Labrador once in their life to experience that. It's an incredible part of our province that so many people have not seen. It's so beautiful up there,
and don't even know about.
Exactly.
It was beautiful up there the entire time, and like not a lick of wind.
What time of the year were you up there?
That was the end of May.
Okay, nice. So it wasn't
it
dead
wasn't
of the winter.
Super, yeah, it wasn't super warm, but it wasn't cold by any means. It was in like, you're not directly on the water like we are here. You know, you could go from having a snowstorm to fog and rain in an hour. But up there, it's just like, when it snows, it stays. It's gorgeous up there. It's like scenic.
Oh man, it's
driving around. The scenery is unbelievable.
It really is. And honestly, the people I met up there too as well. I did the same thing. I kind of got a random call one day. This was, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. Got a random call, and it was a pub up there in Goose Bay. And they were looking for somebody to come up and play for a few weeks. And I didn't know anybody. And she was just like, listen, we'll fly you up. We'll put you up. I'll give you 10 gigs here over the course of, 2.5 weeks. If you're interested in coming up, it's well-paying gig. I'd never been to Labrador before. I'm like, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely go. So I went up and did it, and I was like, I'll never forget that experience. I'm so happy I did that, and wasn't kind of like a little skeptical or nervous about going by myself, or just, worried that the shows weren't going to be great. I just kind of jumped headfirst into it. And just the people I met up there, man, were just and they were very grateful that I was there as well. They were so happy to have some, new entertainment come through and something else for them to see over the course of a couple of weeks. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Everybody who I met up there was amazing. And it's even though, like I said, there was a very clear language barrier. I think I was the only white guy in all of Sheshashi.
The whitest man alive with the curly blonde hair.
Right. It was just like, everybody was like, hey, who's the new guy?
Hey guys, I'm Dan.
Yeah, and that's basically how it went. I met everybody, and I was completely open to just, go with the flow. Everybody just was so nice and really, really welcoming. And I got to learn a bunch, and they took me around and just showed me like the scenery that's up there. And we looked across like the bay. I have some pictures too that I took, because I took my camera. And I'm really grateful that they had cameras there, and they live streamed the entire show.
Oh, nice.
So I have that. That's one of those memories that I actually have a full on live stream of that show as well. and again, not one word of it is in English. And I'm having the best sum of my life playing drums up there. It was great. Is that
no, that's really cool. I did remember seeing that. I wanted to ask you about it because I always thought that was such an interesting dynamic. I mean, to go and play and perform with these guys. And I mean, when you're in a band, it's like a brotherhood. I mean, you're so connected with these guys and girls who you play with and stuff like that. So just an interesting dynamic with the language barrier and stuff. But I mean, music is the language. I mean, that's what it comes 100%. Down to, is that music is the language. That's what can bring people together. You don't need to speak the same language. It's so interesting that way.
Yeah, and that really solidified that for me too, because just going up and gelling with people musically, you don't ever need to speak. And I know that, like, for example, Brian, who is the lead singer, and he's very, very popular within Labrador, Quebec, like within Innu culture. He is like famous in Innu culture. It's crazy because it's a whole different side again to the music industry that exists a couple hours away from here.
Yeah,
nobody knows about. Like nobody from St. John's or anywhere knows about the huge music following that's actually through Labrador and Quebec. That is just a different culture than we even know about. And it's huge. Like these guys go and play festivals for like 20, 30,000 people.
Yeah. Crazy, hey?
And you're just like, I've never heard of them ever. It's crazy. And we just don't speak the same language. And they showed me so much music within their own culture that I was like, this is amazing. How have I never heard this before? There's so much that happens within our own province that nobody even knows about. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
That is crazy, man. It's such a neat story. I mean, I love that one. And it's just such a great experience. I mean, as a musician, as a person, I mean, it's just such an eye-opening experience for anybody like that. Dan, I know you got a crazy couple of busy weeks coming up. I mean, you just dropped a single with Nick Earle. There's a new single out, Born to Lose. You did that one in the studio with Robert Kelly, obviously. Yep. That just came out recently. ECMAs are coming up here real shortly. I mean, I know you're probably going to be doing a bunch of work with different artists in ECMAs. Can you talk a little bit about who you're working with coming up at the ECMAs and maybe talk a little bit about the Nick Earle project as well? I know you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but about the new single probably that just got released.
Well, funny enough, to just piggyback off the story we just finished, first week of April, I think first and second week of April, I'm doing all of the session work for drumming on Andrew Panashway's new album.
Oh, cool.
So we got a call to do that not too long ago. He's coming down and again recording with Robert Kelly, and where I had worked with him last year in Labrador and did the live shows. He called and was like, hey, would you essentially, do you want to do the drums on my new album? So that's something that's coming up very soon within the next couple weeks, which is great. ECMAs, that's the first week of May. That is going to be a busy week. That's going to be a busy week, man. I'm playing a lot up there. I'm playing the awards show. So we're doing ECMA award show at the Aiken Center in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And
who's that with?
That's with Quote the Raven. So we'll be doing that. I'm also playing showcases with Justin Fancy, Nick Earle, Claire Follett I'm playing with as well. Abigail, who is a young country artist from here. Also playing with Mallory Johnson. And I'm trying. It's a busy weekend. It's a really, really, really busy weekend for me.
I bet.
And it always seems to go that way too.
It's an insane amount of rehearsing.
A crazy amount of rehearsing and preparation that's going to be going into this. But again, I get to reconnect with people who I haven't seen in a very long time, and I get to play with people who I adore playing music with. So it's gonna be a really great weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that, and looking forward to getting up into Fredericton. And of course that is anybody who knows me, I use Los Cabos drumsticks.
Mm-hmm.
They're based in Fredericton, so I get to go up and see my Los Cabos family up there.
Yep.
Which is really cool. And it's always throughout the East Coast, wherever you go, you just get to reconnect with old friends.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to just be one of those weekends. It's more like connecting with old friends than it is showcasing your talents.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to do that. And that's why I love going to, anything regarding, East Coast or, Music NL, CCMAs, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely going to be a very busy weekend.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, she's a ton of great artists there, and I mean, it's like going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, like you said, reconnecting with everybody, and obviously, you are performing with a bunch of great acts, especially here from Newfoundland. Obviously, Nick Earle being one of them. I did mention the new single that Nick just dropped, and the Reckless Hearts, which is an absolute banger. I had Nick on as well on the podcast last year, and we had a great chat. And I've obviously gotten a little sneak peek a lot of these songs, just in the studio with Robert and that kind of stuff. And I mean, just another great song. How involved were you in the? Were you involved in any of the kind of co-producing or writing or any of those elements? Were you part of that, or you just kind of strictly performing on this one?
Basically, the entire album has been Nick, myself, and Robert Kelly in a room for hours on end. And
sounds tangly.
It's the most ADD thing you could ever imagine.
Yeah, I believe that.
Between almost nothing ever getting done, we made an album, but it took 2 years.
Right. No, but it's fantastic. I mean, it's just another banger. I mean, Nick just writes these incredible songs, credible rock songs, man. A really great vibe to them. They're upbeat. They're not necessarily gloomy or doomy. You know what I mean? They're crazy, really, really nice, upbeat, fun songs, right?
Well, I told him, I made the joke. I was just like, how I know this is going to take off is because you're making music that girls like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's it.
I said, you're making music and girls like it. That's a good sign. Like, I think it's going to be popular.
Yeah. So that is very, very exciting. Obviously, Nick's a good friend of mine and yours, obviously, as well. So, if you are listening, you are tuning in right now to the podcast, by all means, make sure you head over to Nick's page there and give that a stream. I'm sure you can find it on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Geezer, Deezer, Jeezer, Beezer, all of the above.
Wherever music is, you'll be able to find that song.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And the previous single that we had put out, Queen of the Night, that's the two singles that are out off this latest album. I can say that the album, it looks like we're going to be dropping the album in July.
Ooh, I'd love to hear it.
So
teaser alert.
Just saying. And if
teaser, geezer, pleaser. No, this has been awesome to catch up, Dan. I really appreciate you taking the time. I've been doing this little fun segment, with this new season. Picked up a great sponsor from our friends at Lambs. I've worked pretty close with them over the last little while. They've been incredible to me. And I figured I wanted to fire in this new kind of segment, a part of my podcast where we just have a bit of fun with it. I mean, we've obviously been chatting a lot of music and your career and all the cool things that you're up to. And this is more meant as kind of just more of a laugh, just a kind of a funny thing, maybe to get to know Dan George in a different way that is people maybe have come to expect. So are you okay with the rapid fire question segment, Dan George?
Let's do it. All right.
So I got 10 questions for you. Okay. And I mean, the rapid fire, yes, you can give me a quick answer. Maybe not. We won't try to drag them out too much. We'll try to just bang out through the 10 questions. Okay. Are you ready for question number 1?
Let's do that.
If you never lived in St. John's, where would you call home?
Oh, if I never lived in St. John's, Los Angeles,
LA. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Question number 2. What is Dan George's favorite restaurant to visit in the city of St. John's?
Oh, in the city of St. John's? This is going to be a hard one because I haven't been to a restaurant in quite a long time. Got to say Mallard Cottage, though.
Mallard rules. So
Mallard
good.
is
Brunch at Mallard is the best, man.
Unbelievable.
You get like
Food.
you get like smoked chicken, eggs Benedict, like right from the yard that morning. You're like
Yeah, that's yeah. Actually, that is an easy question.
Yeah, Mallard Cottage. Okay.
Oh,
if you had to pick one or the other, what would it be? Seinfeld or Friends?
Oh, don't do that to me. Gotta go with Friends.
Okay,
gotta
nice.
do it. Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
All right, Dan George and the gang are out for a night on the town. Okay, we're all having fun, having a couple drinks. We make our way into karaoke cups. What is Dan George's song at karaoke cups? What is the song that he's picking to get up and sing?
Oh man. You know what's just coming to my mind, because it's just the karaoke song. It's the karaoke song, "Living on a Prayer."
Oh, nice. I was gonna say either that or "Don't Stop Believing" or two.
Yeah, it's one of those two. One of those
two classic karaoke's. Yeah,
it's like every second song that's queued up at karaoke cops.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
One of those two. It's one of those two. I'm going for it.
Who's a musical artist or band a lot of people may not know that you think should know?
Ooh.
Could be like a young artist coming up, could be somebody who maybe is a little underrated. Doesn't have to be from Newfoundland necessarily, but maybe someone that somebody could check out after this podcast.
There's so many cool ones. I know they're becoming a little bit more popular now. It's a band that I got to see like in a small club in LA before they were kind of like big. But it's a band called Muna, M-U-N-A. Really, really freaking cool band. From Chicago originally, I think.
Okay, cool.
They're super cool. If you want somebody who I think everybody needs to check out or should check out in some capacity from here in Newfoundland, Ashley Malloy.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
I got to see a few sneak peeks of her record again through Robert. And it's literally going to be one of the best albums to come out of this province.
That's awesome. Yeah, and definitely going to get
Hands
Ashley
down.
on for a chat on the podcast too, because
Definitely.
she's awesome and super involved in a bunch of different things too. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really cool person too. Okay, what is the funnest show you've ever played? Right off the top of your head.
Funnest show. Man, this is gonna sound like it was rehearsed, but I love doing Tibbs Eve. Tibbs Eve, Dave Whitty band. I promise it's not rehearsed. It's not rehearsed. Dave Whitty band on Tibbs Eve is always the best time.
It is usually a pretty great. And even this year, we kind of made the best of it. It was still so much fun. I mean, there was nobody there, obviously, because we had to stream it live.
Play it to an empty room and still having the best time of our lives.
Well, it was playing to Tino and Niall.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that answer. Great job.
Yeah, that was a great time this year, and every year that we get to do that is just. It's just a blast, man.
It is, yeah. It's always a lot of
fun.
fun.
Drinks and reconnect with people, and it's around Christmas.
It's a Christmas party. It's more of a Christmas party with music, like
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's always having a good time, and it's right on that time where everybody's supposed to be with friends and having a good time, having a few drinks, and just hanging out.
Exactly.
I love it so much.
Tibbs Eve with Dave Whitty. I love that. Way to go. Okay, I got 3 more questions for you. What was Dan George's first job?
First job. When I was 14, I connected with the guys at Stage 11, which is now Canadian AV, through Music City. And I ended up getting hired to do some stuff with like Stagehand. And that was with like all the shows coming through Mile One. So I ended up from the age of 14 onward, and it kind of ties into why I have so many musical influences that came through here, is that I got to work all of these crazy shows that came through Mile One. So the very first job that I ever had was stagehand with Cirque du Soleil.
Okay, crazy. Yeah, nice. That might even tie into my last question, but I got two more for you. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Would you rather spend the day in the mountains or on the beach?
Mountains.
In the mountains.
Yeah, mountains.
And the final question for Dan George is, what is one thing people might be shocked to learn about Dan George?
Shocked to learn about Dan George.
That's something different that people probably don't know.
I mean, I'm a fairly open book.
You're definitely that.
Jeez. I don't even know if I have an answer for that question.
Well, that's
shocked
the answer.
To learn about Dan George. No idea.
We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much, Dan, for coming on today, man. Really, really, really appreciate it. I know you got a ton of shit going on, and you're a busy cat. For folks listening right now, how can they find you on social media and stuff like that? Where can we find Dan?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at the Dan George. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook as Dan George Drums. Other than that,
find you on a stage coming soon.
Yeah, and you'll probably be listening to songs that I played on, and you won't even know it's me.
That's
awesome. the nature of a side musician.
Absolutely, man. The 2019-2020 side musician of the year. Thank you very much.
You got it.
That's awesome, buddy. No, listen, really, really appreciate it again, man. It was a real blast catching up. Hope to see you soon in real life, and we'll chat with you soon. Thanks so much, Dan.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure, man. Cheers. Huge thanks to Dan for coming on. Great to catch up with him. Haven't seen him in a little while, and it was really fun to hear about some of those stories that I've heard about. I mean, in a little bit of conversation, and the story of Labrador is super awesome. I mean, and going to LA and all that stuff is really, really neat. Dan's a fantastic guy and great musician. Lucky to have him playing drums with me most times, to be honest with you. Very, very lucky. So make sure you do check out Dan and all his social media and all the cool projects that he's been working on. He deserves it, and he's a great guy. Once again, guys, not too much else for me. Been another great episode. Want to say a big shout out to Lambs, of course, for sponsoring the podcast. Really makes a huge difference in doing these every couple weeks. Really, really helpful, and they're just awesome to deal with. So yeah, I mean, that about does it for me, guys. From downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, I'm Dave Whitty. Peace.